If you've ever been relieved that there's a football game tonight, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook as we reach another penultimate day of the week here for Thursday. We had more earnings last night. We had more this morning. We've got another market session ahead of us here today, and we are going to make the most of it. Memory names pulling back after their big run. Do they keep going or do they bounce? That's going to be the question today. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Thursday edition for August 6th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It's great to see a whole bunch of returning faces. I hope that you had a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. We're back for another day here today. We are going to make the most of it as we always do. Richard Judge is first here today. Judge, good morning. It's a new day. Wake up with a smile and carry that smile throughout the course of your day as well. Good to see you again, Judge. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Welcome back. Peter, good morning. Welcome back. Yes, that girl, good morning. Welcome back. Pot G, good afternoon to you. Welcome back. It's always good to see you. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Alan, good morning. Welcome back. Robert saying, good morning. Nothing better than when you follow your gut and it starts paying off. Robert, I could not agree with you more. When you have a gut feeling about something and you've done research and you've put time and effort into looking at something, it's really nice when it pays off. There's an amount of satisfaction there that you did work and it paid off. So cheers to you on that one. RDWU looks like the leveraged ETF for RDW. Good stuff there. Jay Wild, good morning. Welcome back. Producer, good morning. Welcome back. Chuck, excuse me. Good morning. Welcome back. Zach McCracken, good morning and greetings to the Benzie gang indeed. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Welcome back. Whisk, good morning. Welcome back. Santosh, good morning. Welcome back. Liam, good morning. It's always good to see you. Janie, good morning. Hopefully you're doing well. Brandy's locked in and ready to go. Let's go. Good morning. Bernhard, good morning. Ed, good morning. Ed says, smash the like and do a little dance. All right, we're dancing here on Thursday. I love it. Carlos, good morning. Welcome back. Durkis, good morning. Linda, good morning. Just passing through, good morning. JB702, that's a cool name. Good morning. Welcome back. G-Cord, always good to see you. Good morning. Welcome back. Captain 47, good morning. Graf, good morning. Derek, good morning. Matthew, good morning. Reaching Financial Freedom, good morning. Carmen, good morning. Good afternoon, right? You're in Romania. Good afternoon. Nice to see you again. Haralugo, good morning. Best to you, Ryan, and good morning. Hey, I appreciate that. It is indeed a good morning, and we will put our best foot forward today. That you can book. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started. Actually, really quick, good morning, Rooster, and good morning, AC. Now, let's get started with the stock market today. All right, a bit of a mixed bag here ahead of Thursday's open. S&P futures are up 0.09%. They're pretty much oscillating in a range here this morning. The Dow futures are up 0.17%. Again, fairly sideways here this morning. And the Nasdaq's actually moving lower. It's down by 0.61%. It, too, is moving a bit sideways, but it kind of has a bearish tilt to it, as it seems to be weakening slightly into the open. We'll see what happens when we actually get that opening print. And actually, a quick check-in on oil. That's higher by 0.78% here today, /CL in a 75 handle. Now, let's take a look at some cues from last session, as well as what we can expect for this session as we get you ready to go for the trading day. Healthcare, financials, and material stocks led the gains on Wednesday, which drove most S&P 500 sectors higher, while energy, communication services dropped. U.S. stock futures were mixed on Thursday as the Dow, S&P rose and the Nasdaq declined following Wednesday's mixed close. According to Reuters, a proposed Oman broker deal could hand Tehran control over inbound shipping through the crucial Strait of Hormuz, marking a potentially major concession in the 5-month conflict. While crude prices eased with Brent oil futures trading around $79.91 per barrel at the last check, Iran reported the shipping agreement was in its final stages. Significant sticking points remain over control and cargo fees, with Washington continuing to resist Iranian authority over the waterway. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.62%, and the 2-year bond was at 4.2%. The CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show markets pricing a 54.9% likelihood of the Federal Reserve hiking the current interest rates during its September meeting. It's interesting because that number is coming in a little bit. Now, we've got several stocks for you in focus today. The first one's going to be SpaceX. SpaceX, probably the top focus of the day. Ticker SPCX. Now, it was 2.87% higher in the pre-market. That's as its staggered unlock schedule for shares will begin on Thursday, releasing up to 20% of restricted insider shares, with subsequent tranches rolling out through late 2026, and the final major expiration ending on December 8th of 2026, and Elon Musk's personal shares locked until June of 2027. So a 20% tranche today. We'll see what that does for the price. The next stock on our list is going to be SanDisk, which reported earnings last night. SanDisk, ticker SNDK, dropped 9.45% in the pre-market on Thursday, despite posting better than expected fourth quarter results after Wednesday's closing bell. The company's board of directors approved a $14 billion share repurchase expansion, bringing the total to $15.5 billion available for purchase. The next stock on our list is going to be Western Digital, and the ticker is WDC. It tumbled 13.89% as well, despite beating fourth quarter results. It expects first quarter adjusted EPS of $3.85 to $4.15 versus a $3.81 estimate, and revenue of $4 to $4.2 billion versus the $4.01 billion analyst estimate. The next stock on our list here is going to be AppLovin, ticker APP. It slumped 14.31% as it reported second quarter revenue of $1.924 billion. That missed the analyst consensus of $1.935 billion, and earnings of $3.76 per share for the quarter beat the estimate of $3.67 per share. The next spot on our list is going to be HubSpot, ticker HUBS. It also plunged 23.31% despite upbeat second quarter earnings and sales results. The last stock on our list is going to be Circle Internet Group. The ticker is CRCL. It declined 2.5% after reporting mixed second quarter financial results. All right, let's take a look at the SPY chart, folks. So where do we sit? We finally had something different, right? We've been sideways forever. We finally broke out. What happened? Well, normal market action happened. We traded up to 776.85. That is going to be our new all-time high and thus our new upside key level, especially if we can challenge or take it out. Yesterday's candle represents a new all-time high and a bit of a pullback. And when you look at it here on the daily, we basically pulled back to just like the top quartile of the previous day's candle. I'll be honest with you, to me, this is a good thing. We had 4 straight days in a row of a violent move higher, frankly, that also resulted in a breakout. And now we're taking a little bit of a break and pulling back just a tad. Not bad. We still have 2 closes over the breakout level. I'd like to see 3. In an ideal world, I'd like this to pull back towards 760 and really kind of hold above that level. So far, that looks like what we got. We'll see where we end up finishing today. If we take a look inside here at the SPY, it is notable that yesterday's intraday low, which is also about where we were at the close, this is going to be just about 770. So for ease, I'm going to call 770 a key level here today. If we break this to the downside, we'll see where we end up finding some more support. Maybe 764 and some change. I don't want to read too much into that, though. Ultimately, we finally moved out of our sideways formation. We broke up. We put in a high at 776.85, and we pulled back a little bit. To me, this is healthy action. This is good. Nice move higher, a little bit of a pullback. We didn't retrace everything. We didn't completely plunge. We didn't engulf the candle or anything like that. So seems like a normal movement here so far. Nothing really to get excited about just yet. Now, let's take a look at some insights from analysts and see what BlackRock thinks. We got a BlackRock analysis here today. According to recent insights from the BlackRock Investment Institute, BlackRock maintains an overweight tactical view on U.S. equities, expecting robust corporate profitability driven by artificial intelligence to outweigh higher borrowing costs. And in fact, that's what we've seen. Unbelievable earnings growth through this quarter. We're 40+%. However, they caution that the broader economic and markets operate under a persistent high for longer rate regime shaped by structural supply scarcity, heavy government borrowing, and sticky inflation. Now, they do have some key market and economic expectations. The first is regarding U.S. stocks and AI bottlenecks. BlackRock notes that strong corporate earnings fueled by the AI buildout and favorable macro backdrop are outpacing higher interest rate expectations, end quote. Instead of broad stock exposure, they advise targeting AI bottlenecks such as power, chips, data centers, and energy infrastructure. I want to pause right there because BlackRock is basically telling you what Tim Melvin told you 3 months ago. So shout out to Tim for being ahead of BlackRock here and getting y'all prepared for the AI infrastructure trade. That still seems to be rolling forward. On the topic of interest rates and the scarcity economy, BlackRock warns that energy constraints, tight labor markets, and geopolitical shifts keep borrowing costs elevated. They state that these dynamics, quote, underscore our long-held view of a world shaped by supply scarcity, keeping inflation and borrowing costs higher, end quote. And as far as the topic of bonds, with long-term yields elevated, BlackRock remains underweight long U.S. Treasuries, observing that for investors, the role of government bonds has shifted. Less ballast, more income. So let me know if you agree with BlackRock. Do you have your own opinion? Are you folks worried? Does a little bit of a pullback shake you? Sure hope not. As far as economic data here today, preliminary second quarter productivity and cost data, along with initial jobless claims for the week ending August 1st, will be released at 8:30. Producer, give me a hand with this one. If I'm either in the middle of an interview or a news story, please scroll that across the bottom if you can. I will highlight it as soon as I can. And I just lost my place there, which is just so much fun. Also, June's monthly wholesale trade data will be out by 10 today. So That's really all we got. Now, we did have some earnings. Let's actually go back to Pro here real quick. Go to market events. Here are our earnings here for today. So we are expecting Airbnb and Lyft later tonight. Looks like Akamai is also going to be on there. Instacart is also going to be on there. DraftKings is going to be on there. That might be interesting. Remember, Michael Burry took a long position in DraftKings and Flutter. I believe that's actually moved down from his entry. We also have Cloudflare reporting here tonight, ticker NET. So we do have some earnings reports here tonight as well. Now, let's take a look at SanDisk because they reported last night. We can start with the chart since we're already here in Pro. Here's what it looks like. We're down at 1210 after that report. So down 10.35%. You can see we're actually still above the recent low that we made at about 1017, 1018 if you want to round up. To me, this is absolutely a key level. This was a former breakout area. We actually traded sideways right around this level for a little bit. Now we've come back in and found some support there. Really, the question for me is this bounce done? And thankfully, our 20-day moving average, which has been quite trusty for us on a number of different stocks and ETFs, this is showing us that the trend here on SanDisk is still very, very clearly down. Right? It is still very clearly down. And if you want to just kind of draw this, we can add a little trend line here. Let's actually, there we go, a little trend line action here. So we want to break this trend before we really start to make a move up. The great news about this is we do have that 50 days sitting above us. That should give us a pretty good target if this trade does in fact materialize. So we'll see. Let's take a look at the SanDisk report here. SanDisk stock fell 8% after hours as memory chip company crushes earnings, but analysts say investors need a leap of faith. Where's Lion? We need Lion for this. He's got all the leaps of faith in the world. SanDisk reported quarterly earnings of $39.25 per share, which beat the analyst estimate of $34.45 per share. That's according to data from Benzinga Pro. Revenue surged to $8.97 billion, which topped the expectations of $8.39 billion. For first quarter fiscal 2027, SanDisk guided revenue of $10.3 billion to $10.8 billion and adjusted earnings of 44 to 46 per share. That was compared to analyst estimates of $10.37 billion and revenue and 41.45 per share. Despite the earnings beat on Wednesday, investors remain unconvinced as cautious guidance and questions over how long the memory boom can last sent the stock sharply lower in after-hours trading. Susquehanna's Mehdi Hosseini said in an interview with CNBC that investors now need to determine whether memory makers can sustain gross margins approaching 80% as the artificial intelligence market shifts from training to inference workloads next year. He added that the transition could ultimately benefit NAND demand, but preserving margins will remain the key question for the company's management. Quote, "You always have to have a leap of faith and look into next year and how the demand trends are going to evolve," end quote. That again came from Hosseini. And remember, all of the companies that we have heard today so far have really said that, hey, demand is strong. That trend isn't changing. It isn't going away. So will this actually hold up? That's going to be the $64,000 question and the leap of faith. That is expected here. Couple of questions here. What time are the 900 million shares being released into the market? That can start anytime today, as far as I'm aware. I think that it can even start in the pre-market, although I'm not certain about that. It certainly will start at the 9:30 bell. It's today. The SpaceX unlock that you're talking about, it is today. All right. Let me keep rolling here. Ahead of the earnings, Wedbush analyst Matt Bryson said SanDisk's earnings momentum could continue through fiscal 2027 and 2028 as limited industry capacity and the company's multi-year customer agreements support pricing. That was according to a MarketWatch report. AJ Investment Research said in a post on X that the company, quote, significantly beat, end quote, analyst estimates, but he also added that the cautious guidance indeed overshadowed the results. Jack Farley, host of the podcast Monetary Matters, said the chipmaker delivered a giant beat on revenue and earnings, but described the company's fiscal first quarter guidance as meh because it came in only modestly above Wall Street expectations. Now, just moving along to the next SanDisk story. SanDisk CEO David Gekeler expects PC and smartphone sales to decline in 2026, but at the same time, he sees NAND recovery, and he goes on to explain it. SanDisk, ticker SNDK, expects PC and smartphone shipments to decline sharply in 2026, but CEO David Geckler said rising storage capacity and market stabilization next year could support renewed NAND demand. On Wednesday, during SanDisk's fourth quarter earnings call, Geckler said the company expects unit shipments for both PCs and smartphones to decline by mid-teens this calendar year as the consumer technology market adjusts. Still, he described both as important long-term markets and highlighted the broad range of industries served by NAND flash memory. Quote, smartphones, PCs is very, very important, end quote. That was again from Geckler. He did go on to say there's no doubt those markets are adjusting this calendar year, end quote. The expected decline in device shipments could weigh on demand for NAND storage, which is used in smartphones, PCs, and other electronic products. However, SanDisk expects increasing storage capacity per device to partly offset the impact of lower unit sales. Geckler said average storage capacity in smartphones is expected to increase by the mid-teens percentage range this year, even as smartphone shipments decline. Average storage capacity in PCs, meanwhile, is expected to remain relatively flat. The trend suggests consumers and device makers may continue to shift towards products with larger storage configurations, helping sustain demand for NAND even as fewer devices are sold. Looking ahead, Geckler said SanDisk expects PC and smartphone unit shipments to stabilize next year. At the same time, average storage capacity in both markets is expected to rise. That combination could drive renewed growth in total NAND storage demand, measured in exabytes. Quote, we see the market adjusting this year and then next year return to overall exabyte growth across both, end quote. Geckler added that the industry's adjustments is occurring, quote, pretty quickly, end quote, signaling that SanDisk sees the current weakness as a transition rather than a prolonged decline. So I am curious to know, how do you folks approach SanDisk? Are we looking to buy this? Do we think there's another bounce, maybe a significant one? Do we think there are maybe new highs in it, which would make for a really good upside trade? Tell me what you think about a long side trade here on SanDisk, or if you really just don't like it at all and you think it's going down, you think it's time to short, I'd be curious on what you think about that also. All right, how are we doing on time? We're still good on time. That means we're going to go back to pro. We're going to take a look at app. This is, of course, AppLovin. This has been another pretty good trader for us over the last, year and a half, almost 2 years. They reported earnings last night and got smoked, and there's a little bit worrisome here. They're down 18% or 75 points here today, but the big thing here is that if you look on the daily chart where this thing is right now, no bueno. We have been somewhat sideways since February of this year, and that is the low here. Let me actually get the actual low from this day. This was going to be $360.12, so $360.12. We broke this support. We're beneath this right now, 341. And we also broke the 500, which we recently used as some support, the 500-day moving average, that is. So now that we've broken beneath this, we are in a former consolidation range. We're actually at the lower end of that range. And I honestly, if we continue to sell off, I would not be terribly shocked if 200 to 225 was the next stop for app on the downside. Very clearly, we are still in a downtrend. We did have this one move higher that tried to break this downtrend, but it didn't. And so until we do that, down we go. Pretty big major support broken here by AppLovin. Now let's take a look at the report itself. AppLovin's CEO says the Q2 miss just simply came down to timing as the company guides for a strong Q3. Okay, well, I hope so, because the timing of where the chart is right now, no bueno. AppLovin reported second quarter revenue of $1.924 billion. That missed analyst estimates of $1.935 billion, according to Benzinga Pro. The advertising technology company reported earnings of $3.76 per share for the quarter. That beat estimates of $3.67 per share. Total revenue was up 53% on a year-over-year basis. Cash flow from operations totaled $869 million, and free cash flow came in at $863.3 million in the quarter. AppLovin repurchased $551.3 million of its common stock during the quarter and ended the period with approximately $3.05 billion in cash and cash equivalents. AppLovin expects third quarter revenue to be in the range of $2.055 billion, $2.085 billion. That's, of course, versus the estimate of $2.068 billion. The company anticipates third quarter adjusted EBITDA of $1.71 billion to $1.74 billion. App shares tumbled nearly 16% in the after-hours trading following a second quarter revenue miss. But management expects growth to reaccelerate in the third quarter after deploying delayed AI model upgrades. Management attributed the revenue miss largely to a delay in rolling out machine learning improvements. AppLovin reported second quarter revenue of $1.92 billion, a 53% increase year over year, as we mentioned, but missed the estimate still. CEO Adam Foroughi took direct responsibility for the slight miss. Quote, "We've always managed this business with the goal of outperforming our own expectations. And this quarter, we fell short of that standard." Again, that came from Foroughi. He goes on to say, or he emphasized, that the core business remains intact and goes on to say, "We know what happened and it's already been addressed," end quote. He reassured investors that the slight deficiency was an anomaly, declaring, quote, "This quarter came down to timing," end quote. A crucial machine learning update deployed just after the quarter closed has already put the company back on its expected financial trajectory, however. Foroughi confirmed that, quote, "Nothing we saw suggested weakening advertiser demand or a change in the competitive environment," end quote. The delayed model upgrade went live in early July, producing immediate performance lifts that drove higher client spending. Reflecting this renewed momentum, AppLovin projects third quarter revenue between $2.055 and $2.085 billion, roughly in line or slightly above the Wall Street expectations of $2.068 billion. Beyond mobile gaming, AppLovin is heavily investing in advanced compute capabilities and scaling its public e-commerce platform. Consumer advertising spending reached a record level. It surged 28% above fourth quarter peak levels. CFO Matt Stumpf defended rising data center costs, noting they are vital for training complex models. Foroughi agreed, stating that when compute investments drive outsized revenue, quote, "That's a trade we'll make every day," end quote. Looking ahead, Foroughi remained highly optimistic, saying, "What consumer ads is runway," end quote. He also predicted the business could compound roughly at 30% annually over the next decade. That's not bad. So AppLovin, do you buy it? Do you buy the CEO? Is the bottom close, or is the bottom even in? You think this rebounds as quickly as next quarter and gives us an upside trade? Curious to hear what the feelings are about AppLovin. All right. Next story here. Gary Black says Uber, not Tesla or Waymo, has the best shot at bringing robo-taxis to the masses. I love this story because it just depends who you ask. We discussed yesterday on Happy Hour how good the Tesla full self-driving was. There's a employee that works at Tesla that hasn't driven in 3 months or whatever it is because the full self-driving just takes him to work every day. There's concerns about people behind allowing full self-driving to go and then falling asleep at the wheel. There's pictures and videos all over the internet about it. That puts me on tilt, but that's another story. There's talks that Waymo is great. Now we have Uber maybe being the winner. Investor Gary Black of the Future Fund LLC has backed ride-hailing giant Uber Technologies, ticker UBER, as his pick to lead the autonomous ride-hailing market ahead of the likes of Alphabet's Waymo, which is ticker GOG or GOGL, and Elon Musk's Tesla, which is, of course, TSLA. In a post on X, Black responded to user @PME2717, who said that being bullish on Uber was not a smart move as the company was like the video rental company Blockbuster. I'm fighting words. In a world of streaming platforms like Netflix. Quote, "When I think of who has the best chances of offering fully autonomous ride-hailing to the masses, it's clearly Uber," end quote. And that is, again, from Gary Black. He added that his bullish stance on Uber stemmed from the company's open source supplier model. He added that the Blockbuster did not adapt to the advent of streaming. Uber held its second quarter 2026 earnings call on Wednesday, reporting revenue of $14.19 billion for the quarter, which was up 12% year over year. However, the revenue figure was still slightly below analyst estimates of $14.24 billion. Uber matched the analyst consensus of EPS earnings of 81 cents per share. Uber's GAAP income from operations increased 30% to $1.89 billion amid Uber's recent acquisition of German food delivery platform Delivery Hero in a deal worth more than $14 billion. CEO Dara Khosrowshahi touted Uber's 15-minute drone delivery as a, quote, magical experience, end quote. No word if they sprinkle pixie dust on the food during the company's earnings call. Khosrowshahi also said that Uber was on track to begin autonomous ride-hailing operations in 15 cities by the end of the by the end of the year, beg your pardon. For Rivian Automotive, ticker RIVN, for their robo-taxis, quote, we expect to be in perhaps San Francisco and Miami in 2028, end quote. And that is from Khosrowshahi, adding that NVIDIA-backed robo-taxi would debut, in Los Angeles and San Francisco next year, and 28 different cities globally by 2028. So we'll see here. You let me know. Which one do you pick? Uber, Waymo, Tesla? None of them? Are you old school like me? You're going to just drive the car yourself, for heaven's sakes? I get it. All right. Last story here. We'll roll through it as quickly as we can. Then we'll get to our special guest here today. I know you guys, we really picked this up here. Kevin's back. Y'all are waiting for him. We'll get to that real quick. I got one more piece of news here for you. This one's going to be Michael Kratsios says some companies blame AI for layoff because it simply plays better in the press. We've been talking about AI layoffs for some time here. There's some back and forth on that, but the data is starting to show. White House Science and Technology Advisor Michael Kratsios said some companies are blaming artificial intelligence for layoffs they likely would have carried out anyway, arguing that the explanation plays better in the press. On Tuesday, Kratsios said during an appearance on the Moonshots with Peter Diamandis podcast that some businesses are attributing layoffs that they likely would have made regardless to AI because the narrative is more appealing to investors and the public. Quote, I think like a lot of folks these days, like when they're doing a layoff that they would have done anyway, just like to assign it or blame it on AI because it plays better in the press, end quote. That was from Kratsios, by the way. Podcast host Peter Diamandis suggested companies may benefit from framing job cuts as AI-driven efficiency improvements because markets often reward higher productivity with fewer workers. Quote, and their stock price goes up if they are, producing more revenue with fewer people, end quote. Precisely, yeah, end quote. That is from Kratsios on the response. He said he remains optimistic about AI's long-term impact on employment, arguing the technology could create new opportunities even as it changes existing roles. Quote, I believe in the long term. I'm very optimistic about the impact that AI is going to have on jobs, end quote. Earlier, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman warned that public skepticism around AI is rising, with many blaming the technology for higher energy costs and layoffs, even when AI may not be the direct cause. Apollo Global Management chief economist Torsten Slok said there is, quote, zero evidence, end quote, that AI has triggered broad employment losses, pointing to hiring in AI implementation, data centers, semiconductors, and energy sectors. He said the AI boom could increase economic activity through Javan's paradox, where efficiency gains create more demand and new opportunities. Amazon's founder, Jeff Bezos, ticker AMZN, by the way, also rejected predictions of mass-driven AI unemployment, arguing that AI will improve productivity, empower workers, and potentially create labor shortages as lower costs drive economic growth. Microsoft and Meta, that's ticker MSFT and META, reshaped their workforces around AI as both companies pursued greater efficiency and AI-driven growth. Microsoft eliminated 4,800 roles while saying the cuts were due to business changes, not AI replacing workers, and plan to invest in AI training. Meta moved about 7,000 employees into new AI-focused divisions while cutting roughly 8,000 jobs, creating an creating an AI native teams designed to improve productivity and accelerate AI deployment. Easy for me to say on there. So this has been my prediction. It might remove some remedial jobs. Is it going to cause this catastrophic damage that everyone's worried about and talking about on podcasts? No, it's not going to do that. And now, thankfully, we have data showing that that was a bunch of nonsense, at least so far. Okay. All right, folks, it is that time. And look, quickly becoming one of our favorite guests here. That's for sure. Let's go ahead and bring on Mr. Kevin Davitt. Kevin, good morning. Welcome back. How are you today? You are muted, my friend. Muted. I cannot hear you. I'm good at lip reading, though, so I was able to figure out what you just asked there. Producer, can you help him out a bit? Looks to me like you just have the wrong microphone selected, probably in Restream. Little down arrow next to the microphone icon should allow you to select the correct microphone. Oh, I heard something. Nope. Not yet. Not yet. All right, producer. Heard something there. All right, producer, help him out. Figure this out, and we'll bring him back on when he's ready. In the meantime, let me go back to Pro here. We'll take a look at some stuff. Producer, you'll have to ping me here when it's ready. I'll make sure I have your thing ready here. Okay. In the meantime, we can actually take a look at some charts here. I did go, you know what? You know what we'll do? Producer's helping. I was thinking we could probably do a street tweet right now and just get that out of the way. Actually ties into one of the things we're doing. You know what? We're going to do it. I'll just produce it if I have to. Street tweets right now. We'll come back and talk to Kevin in a sec. Oh, is it ready? Yes, it is. Yes, it is, producer. Okay, so our street tweet here today comes from Sawyer Merritt. Jim Cramer says investors should consider buying SpaceX stock for their kids. So I don't know where the group is on the inverse Cramer signal here. We talked about Cramer saying he was going to sell all of his Bitcoin, and that made us feel like we're back for the Bitcoin trade here. I don't know where you folks fall, but Cramer here is saying that you definitely should buy SpaceX, if for nothing else, their kids, grandkids. Quote, do you think your children or your grandchildren won't be doing stuff on the moon someday? What stuff would they do on the moon? Can we get a golf course up there, producer? That'd be something else. Probably hit that ball a damn country mile. Do you think that orbital data centers won't make sense? They can get all the power from the sun. Might end up being the only place politicians let us put them. Think about it. Maybe you put some away for the next generation or even one after that. Back in the day, people bought 100-year railroad bonds that paid off. SpaceX could be a 100-year piece of paper too. Now, I will say this. So first of all, I do agree that SpaceX is eventually going to be a long-term success. And really that's rooted in Elon's success and his unbelievable moat, but also the fact that I'm a kid at heart, and space, the final frontier, exploration, all of that stuff hits for me. So I really want this to work. My bias is for this to work. And I'm with that. And I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think that what Cramer's getting right here is that he's trying to help you focus on a long-term vision as opposed to just saying, yeah, we're going to go to 300 and moon and we're going to get all. No. Taking a long-term approach here, saying a generation or two down the road might benefit from it, and then tying it back to a very real example that helped a bunch of folks create a lot of wealth from just being patient. So where are we at with Cramer, inverse Cramer? Do you like, dislike it? Where are we at with that? But also, I think under the surface here, with the jokes stripped away, there is some some good advice here on holding some of these transformational companies long term for the next generation. Okay, let's get back here. Let's see. Are we ready here, folks? Are we ready for? Oops, I clicked the wrong thing again. Geez, look at this. No wonder they have a producer here. Let's see if we can bring Kevin back. Let's see if we're ready here. Kevin, we good? Nope. Actually, that looks like it's frozen. No, we are not good. Okay. In that case, we're just going to do ticker time until we get this figured out. So I'm going to need help from the group. I guess we could start with SpaceX here. Lion, there he is. Lion, oh boy, Creamer. Gosh, makes me laugh every day. Creamer is going to tank SpaceX even more. Antifa FM, questionable YouTube handle, says it's not about the competition. It's about who's holding the 900 million shares that they're releasing 20% of and 7% each month. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't have like a complete breakdown for you on all of that. But as I shared with the group, I do know someone who had a private investment in SpaceX for years, and he runs a PE fund. And I'll tell you what he told me when I was asking him about some of this. I asked him about the lockup expiry, and I said, what do you think is going to happen? And he said, it's only 20%. And I can tell you my clients own it from $4, and most are not selling. So while I do want to see how this ends up trading, and I do think that there are absolutely going to be some liquidations and register rings and profit taking here, I am curious to see how bad it actually is going to be. Remember, what I actually want for the purpose of investing, what I actually want is for this to go to an 80 handle. So if it wants to do that really quick and give us an opportunity to add this at a more attractive level for the long-term investment that we were just talking about, giddy up. That's what I'm looking for here. Now, how fast is that going to happen? I don't know the answer to that. We'll see. We'll see. Lynn, we don't actively block posts, so there must have been something in there that just kind of got auto flagged. I don't know. And then we're still, so we're still not good on the guess. So let's go back. You guys are wanting to take a look at SOUN. This is great. We might as well just hit this now. SoundHound, this is one that we've traded with great success here before. They reported earnings last night, and they're up 26% here today. So absolutely a key stock to watch here. But here's the key. So I see Joe Marsh asking, is it a short? If you want, we can ask the 8-ball. Should we try that real quick? Should we get Mr. 8-ball here? Mr. 8-ball, is SOUN a good short today? What do you say? There we go. Outlook, not so good. So there's your super scientific measurement there. All jokes aside here, here's the thing about SoundHound. Look at the trend line that we have. The two recent highs. So let me take a step back. I got a little excited there. SoundHound made a huge move higher, and then it made a huge move lower. The good news is that it's actually been trading sideways. So it's setting up for what's it going to do next here. It's done a really good job putting in a support here, just about 6. Maybe it's peaked beneath 6, so maybe a little bit less than 6. But for all intents and purposes, 6 is a pretty good support. And the 2 times recently, this is back in April, right? Yeah, April and May. The 2 times that we tried to kind of trade out of this sideways formation or this consolidation area, we ended up forming a lower high. That lower high now generates a trend line. And lo and behold, after the earnings print, look where we popped to. We literally went right there. So we're at a resistance area. So you're asking here about a short. Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen for sure. We'll see if the 8-ball's right. But I can say that we traded a huge pop after earnings, 27+% pop right into a resistance area. So I think you can kind of just watch this for a trade here today. I've got this value at about 830. We're currently sitting at 819 right now. If we pop above this area on high volume, sure, I think you could get maybe a move higher here. Better still, if we pop above this, back test it, hold, and then start to move higher, I think I'd feel a little bit better about that, but I might be getting picky at that point. Otherwise, if this is the top and this is the resistance, well, we've got some pretty good targets beneath, right? We got this big gap created by the move higher here. We've got the 100 down there at 730, and we have the 50-day down there at 689. So I don't know about the 20. The 20 is basically, it has been resistance here, but the stock's basically just been hardly trading at all over the last several sessions. So I'd be more tend to look at the 100-day and the 50-day there if we can't break out. If we do break out, the other thing here is that we have a 200-day that is almost at the previous high. This is right around 940. So we'll see here on SoundHound. Now, did I look at this yesterday? No, I didn't, unfortunately. Yeah, I did. Here. So I actually have some notes here from yesterday. So their Q2 revenue was $61.9 million. That was up 45% year over year. That is still high growth for a software as a service and an AI tiered company there, but it's notably not hyper growth like some of the other stocks that we've seen. That range was, I think, 70 to 100%. They also raised their fiscal year 26 guide to 230 to 260 million. And the good news about that, I think this is one of the reasons the stock is up so much, that actually implies 30 to 40% growth depending on the exit rate going forward. So not only did they grow great in the last quarter, but because of the report, they're actually saying that they anticipate growing at that same rate or maybe even a little bit more going forward. I think that's really kind of contributing to the 28% move. Now, again, how high does that go? We have to use risk management to figure that out here, but did look like a pretty good report here. It was okay. The demand is real. That's definitely good. The product market fit is improving, but it's not transformational or anything. Okay. I think we're going to be good with our guest. Let's try this one more time. Let me go ahead and nix my screen. Let's bring Kevin back on and see if we got this one figured out here. Kevin, how's it going?
I'm not sure. You tell me.
Oh, it's going perfect. See the producer. He's an ace. That's why we keep the ace up our sleeve. He helps fix things.
He is an ace. I appreciate that help, and I apologize to the audience for that snafu.
Oh, that's okay. The good news here is that we're adept at dealing with technical problems. It's like another day around these parts, so no big deal. But again, Kevin, thank you for joining us here today. Did you have slides or anything that you wanted to bring up here? Perfect. Look at this. You're already on top of it. All right. So I do have a question for you. But what do you have for us first? I'll tie my question in at some point.
So I imagine that your question ties into where I would like to start this. In our preparation for this conversation, you mentioned an interest in SpaceX and that the audience is familiar with now past earnings, that there is a significant unlock and that something like 900 million shares of the underlying is likely to come to market. What are we observing in positioning around that potentially in the options market? So is that where you'd like to start?
Yeah, I think that's perfect. The chat's already talking about that, so let's dive right in.
Okay, I would like you to understand what you're looking at here and why it might matter. This data comes from our friends at Spot Gamma, which some of your audience might be familiar with. On the vertical y-axis, what you see is SpaceX price level. So right in the middle of that is roughly where we're trading, somewhere around 108. On the horizontal axis, you see time or maturity and options expirations. Now, you can look at the text on the left-hand side. What the individual trader has been doing is selling calls and buying puts. That type of behavior is very typical of what you see in index products, where people are looking to potentially generate income and then protect downside. What does that do to the dealer and market making community is the question that this ostensibly answers. It leaves the liquidity providers long gamma on a rally. Long gamma at the dealer level typically mutes macro volatility, or in this case, individual SpaceX vol. And right now and lower on the SpaceX price, dealers are likely short gamma. That tends to exacerbate moves. If SpaceX did continue to move lower, granted, it's been kind of range bound after the rally and then sell off post earnings. If it continued to move lower, that negative gamma exposure would increase and perhaps become more of a story. Time will tell what shakes out in both the narrative and the option side of the business over the next couple of days.
Okay, so I have one really quick follow-up question there. SpaceX is kind of trading in that range, as you mentioned, just kind of trading sideways here. And it does, if I'm just kind of eyeballing the chart, sure looks to me like 109-ish is the lower support area. If we break that, do you think that this kind of exacerbation of volatility might rear its head? Maybe we'll see a more pronounced move to the downside?
I think that potential exists.
Okay.
When I look at this spot gamma visual, that sort of core nuclear red area that is roughly a week out in time and falls off around 104, 103 in SpaceX, I think that could be a pivot point. If you really break lower, dealers below 90 appear to be long gamma, which might be your sort of support point. But a short gamma setup for the dealer community does tend to exacerbate moves in the direction of the underlying. So they need to sell into weakness and buy into strength. And so if we did break lower, that could be a catalyst for sort of bigger ranges.
And it sounds like if we break up, the same dynamic exists just in the reverse.
It does for like the first $10. And then there's a significant long gamma exposure for dealers where they would be selling into strength and buying into weakness, which typically mutes volatility. This sort of setup is fairly typical in index products, particularly after we see a significant pullback. We saw a dynamic somewhat like this in NDX last week. So midweek on Wednesday, we were through the Fed. Markets were really selling off. Then we got some earnings and there's been a big shift. The setup going into that was similar to what you're seeing here in SpaceX. Not identical, but as you and your producers and ideally a lot of the audience knows, I think about the continued growth of the Nasdaq 100, and I see that a couple of different ways. From a big picture standpoint, assets tend to move into the Nasdaq 100 because it's been performance driven. What you're looking at here is a 10-year look back of Nasdaq 100 less S&P 500 performance on a rolling 1 year window. The TLDR is that by and large, the Nasdaq 100 has almost always been outperforming, with the exception of 2022, which many of your audience will likely remember. But what I find interesting is more recently, if you move to the right-hand side of this visual, that 1 year trailing relationship on Wednesday of last year fell to just 1.5%. So on a 1 year look back from last Wednesday, the Nasdaq 100 was only outperforming fractionally. This market continues to find support right around that sort of even point, my red dotted line.
Mm-hmm.
I will continue to watch that for like a big picture view of the market. 2022 was the last like pronounced drawdown in the broad market. Since then, every drawdown has kind of been bought and the recovery occurred fairly quickly. So I'm going to continue to watch that for big picture macro sort of performance. Your coverage and your audience knows that the moves in the big names in the market, this one shows the top 10 constituents in the Nasdaq 100, and it's a 1 week look back. On the bottom, you see daily NDX performance that associates with those specific dates. The moves that some of these individual names have made are very, very significant, right? We look at Microsoft up 25% in a calendar week. That is wild. $100 move. Amazon not far behind that. AMD had the earnings last night. A name like Micron, and then Nvidia will become kind of a focal point at the end of the earnings cycle. So the moves in the mega cap names continue to be sort of the primary drivers of macro volatility. That's unusual. They tend to be the names that remain a little bit more range bound, and I'm going to keep my eye on that dynamic. The last point I would make here, and something that I know you've covered, is, and the last time we spoke, Apple's performance, that kind of slow and steady, which has reversed post earnings. But big picture, Apple has been a really strong performer year to date. It's just been weak, like over the past week. Not to get too repetitive. Any questions there?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I actually have another takeaway from that chart that you were just showing. And it revolves around Apple. We've talked about Apple really kind of being the safety trade when it comes to AI. They haven't spent a ton on all of that. I don't know what's going on with my camera here. Sorry about that. They haven't spent a ton on all of that. And as a result, it might be a little bit safer. Now, with the earnings out of the way, maybe there's a little bit of fear introduced there, but frankly, it was on a huge move higher, a little bit of a move back down, not a big deal. This to me this kind of shows me that the AI trade is still driving the boat. I don't care if it's Nasdaq, SPY, or whatever. The AI trade is driving the boat. And when things feel good, they indiscriminately target the AI names that are the biggest. And those are the ones that you have there on your list. So it just seems to me that this price performance here seems Apple is kind of lagged behind. I wouldn't be surprised if this normalizes again when some of these bigger AI names pull back and there's more of a move to the safety trade. I think Apple's going to get picked up again there. I think this chart kind of shows that.
I would tend to agree. The one bit that I find sort of interesting and didn't mention so far on this visual is the correlated performance of semis and software names over the past week. For the better part of this year, when software was underperforming, semis were performing, and vice versa. The past week, we've seen more of a unified move higher. But Apple is sort of like the railroads for all of this. They don't have that same sort of cloud business story that Microsoft and Amazon do. And the demand for semis really seems to still be very, very strong. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when August might be a slow time for the market. From a trading standpoint, this continues to be one of the most interesting years to be engaged in markets that I can remember.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say that opinion is also shared by others, not just you and I. We actually, just last night, a gentleman that's been in private equity for 4 decades said the same thing effectively. One more thing about this that really awesome there. We had talked on a daily basis, because we're traders here, we look at rotation. And we noticed that some days people would rotate into software and they would rotate out of hardware. And then on other days, it would flip. And that rotation back and forth, when you looked at the broader market, meant we pretty much just went sideways. But now you're telling me that they're converging to the upside. And lo and behold, we've broken out of our sideways range. To me, this is all adding. The math is mathing, for lack of a better term.
The math is mathing, and we didn't plan this, but I would argue that some of the dates that I have highlighted on this visual, which I'll explain better in just a second, highlight that dynamic both ways, in the unified move as well as the unified move lower. So just quickly, let me explain how I look at this. It is a close over close Nasdaq move date through this calendar year. Now, you look over a long time frame, and it is typical for Nasdaq ranges to average right around 1%, a plus or minus number. That was the case for the better part of the first quarter. It was actually slightly lower than that, about 89 basis points. It expanded slightly as we moved into Q2. And that was arguably catalyzed by a day like you just mentioned, where it was all moving in lockstep. 3/31, March 31 was that blast off. And that kicked off a stretch of 13 consecutive days for the NASDAQ 100 moving higher, historically very unusual there. And then we moved into a period of underlying market higher and option volatility higher, which is very unusual. And then back in June, we saw the reverse of that. We saw software, hardware, all the semis sell off June 5th. And that sort of changed the zeitgeist a bit
Mhm.
and expanded ranges for the market. Since then, owning optionality, and in particular, relatively small exposures to NDX optionality, have on average been rewarded. More recently, this last sort of small red highlighted box that I have, NDX had declined for 6 consecutive days. And that too is unusual. That was going into Wednesday, ending Wednesday of last week. There's only been 5 situations where that occurred in the past decade. And the forward returns from those points have been relatively strong, but not nearly the sort of rebound that we are seeing in this market. So just building on that narrative, I'm calling attention to the top left here. The
Mhm.
other situations where that happened was going into the 2016 Trump-Clinton election. And then we had the following day, a roughly 2.5% rally. You look out one calendar week, which is 5 trading days, the same 2%. And a month later, 21 trading days, 3%. Another one when there was the first yield curve inversion in 2019, 1 month out, markets up about 4%. 2021 is the story that doesn't quite move in lockstep higher. That was following sort of the meme stock run up and implosion. So I'm thinking about names like the ARK Fund and Cathie Wood. A month later, markets were still under pressure there. 2022 October was arguably kind of the big inflection point where the AI trades started to take off in earnest. But look at this one. Since July 29th, 5 days forward, which was as of yesterday's close, the Nasdaq 100 gained nearly 8%. And as of the day before, it was nearly 9%. This is unusual. In these environments where indices, and in particular the Nasdaq 100, are making significant moves, I would argue, and I'm laying out a trade I put on that expires today, and I did this yesterday, and we see a whole lot of trading in short-dated options in NDX, that things like butterflies can make some sense. Ryan, are you at all familiar with how a butterfly works? And no issue if that's not the case.
Yes, we definitely are. We actually have an option guest on Tuesdays and Fridays that gives out trades. She very much prefers condors or iron condors and butterflies in order to capture this. Butterflies, especially, one of the ways that we use them here as a group is if we're expecting a big move, but we're unsure of which direction that move is, we might be able to take a fly in each direction. Hopefully it appreciates enough to cover the one that doesn't work. So we do use those here. Yes.
You nailed it. This is something that I look to do periodically in my own, personal account. And I'm just going to quickly run through the way I looked at this today. I looked at that data, about an 8% move, like well above the average, even for these rebounds, which is more like 3% with an 80% success rate. I said, what if the NASDAQ 100, there was some weakness yesterday, moved back about 1.5%? How could I structure a position that might work well in that situation? And the issue with directional trading using options is that it tends to be expensive. And in an index with a value around 30,000, that is absolutely the case with outright options plays in NDX. So I look to structure a butterfly. I bought the 29,100 puts and I bought the 28,900 puts once, my wings, and I sold 2 of the 29,000 puts. So I'm targeting that today. 100-point wide butterfly. I paid 2.5 points for that. So that's $250 for a position that, in the unlikely scenario, we moved right to and expired at 29,000 today, I would do very well. If I held it, that'd be a $10,000 winner and it cash settles. I am not expecting that. But what I like to sort of preach is thinking through the execution of these, always looking to do those mid-market, and periodically putting on positions that have an asymmetric, and you just hinted at this, asymmetric risk reward setups. I I am comfortable with the idea of losing something like $200. I could do this on the math on this. This is something where like I could withstand being wrong 8 or 9 times out of 10, and you're right once, and it can come out very positive. I like situations like that. It's not the type of trading that is going to appeal to everyone, but I'm curious. You explained the sort of impetus for something like this very well, and I'm thrilled to hear that your audience is already familiar with these types of setups.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure we're gonna keep trying to go after this. I didn't have any idea you were gonna share an actual trade here. That's great. That's fantastic. And I like the risk to reward on the setup that you have here as well.
Yeah, well, we will see what shakes out. I'm pleased to see a little bit of weakness coming in this morning. And again, this is something where like theoretically, if I saw that worth $2,500, $2,000 at some point during the day today, I would likely get out. I am not looking to or expecting to really nail these, but being able to structure positions where I can risk a defined and relatively small amount with the opportunity, if things go well, periodically to net come out ahead, I'm a big fan of. I think that speaks to the power of optionality.
Absolutely. I mean, if you paid 250 and you cash out at 2,500, a 10x is nothing to turn your nose up at all. Real quick, I thought this was a good question here, and I'll let you go here for today. Alan was asking, Ryan, I think us retailers are driving the market in between earnings, and then financial institutions come in and reset the stock after earnings. Is this something? Do you have any opinion on this? Is he on track here? Can we tell from the options if that's what's happening?
I think it's a very informed question. I would argue that retail throughout continues to be a real driver of performance. But if I'm reading between the lines of Alan's question there, I do think that the point about institutions sort of being more likely to reposition following data points like earnings is the case. But retail think about your trading, Alan, or those in a room like this. Retail loves to position around earnings as well, but you're just not doing it in the size that institutions are. So I think your understanding of sort of the market structure backdrop here is very good. Retail continues to drive positioning in this market, and that just continues to grow. And I think it's a great thing because by and large, I think they are doing well and continuing to refine the way that they go about it.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Kevin Davitt getting it done again. Head of index options content at the Nasdaq. Thanks for joining us again here today, Kevin. We look forward to more of this.
My pleasure. I apologize for the audio issues. Thank you.
That's okay. We will handle it here. Kevin, have a great rest of your Thursday and weekend, and we'll catch up with you next time. All right, Kevin Davitt, folks, we're going to keep bringing you A-plus guests all of the time. Really great insight there from Kevin. Awesome. Well, we're going to keep rolling here. Now, let me go back to Pro. I know you folks want to break down some of the movers, so that's what we're going to go ahead and do. Oh, I just needed to put my screen back on here, producer. That's all. You know what? We're going to bring on some help again. Let's welcome Adam Mesh back. We'll see if he's got any other goodies for us today. Adam, welcome back. Happy Thursday, my man. 2 days in a row. I could get used to this.
I like it, Ryan. I like it. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. Let me first ask you, just as far as like the market goes here. Let me ask about SpaceX here before my chat riots on me. Are you doing anything with SpaceX with the lockup expiration today? Do you have anything planned? Are you looking for anything? Do you have a position going into today? Anything at all?
One, I have a position from the start. I was able to get IPO shares at 135, and I sold half at 167. So I still own a little bit, but that's like in a different account that I'm not looking at. I traded it yesterday, got down like $700, then went to up 500 and literally finished the day up $36 trading SpaceX yesterday. But it was really happy because I got out and I was like, I don't have a feel for this. and I have a positive number, and that feels good mentally. And I literally like sold it just before it went to negative, and SpaceX was at like 115 when I did that, and it went down to 108, and I thought it was going to be bullish. So I was really happy to stay away from that yesterday. I've been talking a lot about this one. I talked to you about this one yesterday, and I think the lockup is not going to impact the stock like people think. Like, I'm not worried about the lockup impacting the stock. I think it's going to be more of the market play. You see, it's trading. Is it trading up?
It's actually up just shy of 1%. It's up 94 cents.
Right, and the Nasdaq's trading down. So already, but if the lockup were that issue, it'd probably be lower right now. Yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay, I can't wait. This is primary event, I guess, today, event number 1. So can't wait to see how this shakes out. Okay, the other thing I wanted to ask you here real quick is just kind of on the broader market here. We've had this just wonderful breakout where we finally broke out of the sideways area that we're in. We traded up, set a new all-time high, and we've pulled back a little. It's my contention, Adam, that this little bit of a pullback here after a 4-day violent move higher is a good thing for all of us. Even if there's just red arrows even if we pull back a little bit more here today, I'm looking to hold the breakout level so that we can set up maybe another move higher. Am I crazy for this, or does that track?
No, I think it's a healthier market when you have pullbacks in between. For us as traders, what we want is volatility. And the more violent the moves get, the more fun it will be for us as traders, people that go in and out of the market. For the people holding, it's not as fun. They just want it to go straight up.
That's right.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with moves either way. As an individual trader, I'm a much better trader when the market's going down. It's just easier.
Okay. I will say when the market goes down, like on a day-to-day basis, it's easier for me to spot relative strength, which is definitely helpful. But man, oh man, I seem to just do better in bull trends. But you know what? That gives me something to work on.
I think what you just said though is 100% right. That's why it is, because you could see strength easier. Like the strength reveals itself when the market's going down versus when the market's going up. You don't know if you're chasing a sector rotation where you're buying something late and the money's going to rotate into something else. And you're like, how's the market going up? But I'm losing. I hate that feeling. But when the market's going down and you see something on no news that won't go down, you're like, okay, here's a stock nobody wants to sell. That's great information for when the market's going back up.
Yeah. So, and actually, we're kind of waiting for something like that on Nike, right? Kind of waiting. We've talked about this a couple of times recently. We're waiting for the day where the market is down, Nike gets a downgrade, and it's flat. Maybe finally the damn bottom will be in on that thing, but we'll see. Okay, I digress. Now, you talked a little bit there about volatility. That is exactly what folks want to get to. Let's roll through some of the movers today that might actually have some of that volatility. The first one.
Wait, before you get into that one, I got to tell you, YXT you brought up to me yesterday at $7. And I was like, well, I don't want to tell people not to trade this when it's up at 7 from 2. But then I had it up on my screen and I was watching it and I ended up trading it a little bit. I not a lot. I was up $300. I was trading 100 shares at a time because it was crazy. And I finished up $180, but it went to 32 yesterday.
Yeah, it did.
It closed at 23. But if you would have taken any out, you got destroyed overnight because it went back to 11. So that was, I'm not looking at that again, but I had to bring it up because I said, well, I feel bad if I tell people not to trade this and it goes to 20 and it went to 32. But the other one I did stay away from, I did look at, and that stayed down. So I was 1 for 2.
Okay.
Fermi went up yesterday, so that was good.
And you know what? Actually, oh man, and Fermi, this actually might work. This actually might work out really well. My co-host 13, who's going to be joining us here in a little bit, he has done some considerable work on Fermi. And he actually caught the tail end of your segment yesterday when you were talking about this. And he sent me a wealth of information that I admit, hand up, this is my fault. I was supposed to email you this yesterday and I did not. But I am thrilled that you're back here because maybe we should talk about Fermi. Maybe we should kind of roll through the thing a little bit more. Would you be interested in that at all?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, awesome. Let me see if I can get a preview here. 13, would you be interested in discussing Fermi at some point? He's giving me a thumbs up. Okay, so we'll do that here in just a sec. I did want to cover CLRO real quick, and then we'll bring 13 on and we'll talk a little bit more about Fermi. We can also break down some of the other movers if we want. First of all, YXT, glad we did have one of those China crazy movers yesterday. We said this was one of them that could end up doing that, and sure enough, it did. The big mover here today is CLRO. This is Clear One. This is an American company. It's not a Chinese company. This went higher yesterday in the after hours, took another leg higher today. Sure looks like 12 is a bit of resistance here for me. If we look back on the daily chart, you can see this stock is no stranger to popping, and it loves to give it back in fairly short order. So just kind of keep that in mind. Looking at the news feed here, it looks like they had an 8K yesterday in the after hours. That is likely what is driving this here. I went through this. It looks like it moved because they filed an 8K tied to the pending contingent merger, including a warrant cancellation and stockholder approval for a large share issuance that would create a change in control. The filing said TLDR, 437,500 warrants were canceled. 12.5 million new shares were approved for issuance in connection with the merger. So that's from the 8K yesterday. Stock is up 198% here today. I do have some elevated short interest here, 16%, 1 day to cover. Float on this is a micro float. So they're trying to issue some new shares here. Let me ask you, what do you think about micro floats up several 100% in a pre-market? Is there a secret sauce? Is there a magic to trade in this? You were just telling me volatility is what we're looking for. What would we want to see here on CLRO?
Well, if there's a merger, I think it's tied to a price, right? If there's a merger.
Yeah, let me see if I have that here in my notes.
So the only thing I get nervous about with that is then there's people that know a lot more than I do that can make professional plays versus, but like if it was any other kind of news, that becomes very exciting. And then you're just trading it like a wave, you know?
So here you go. So the merger consideration is not tied to a fixed cash price per CLRO share. The transaction is a reverse merger style deal where Vivani and Contingent receive 12.5 million Clear One shares.
So they're acquiring companies, private companies or other public companies? I don't even know. Yeah,
this I believe is a private one.
Okay.
That they're acquiring here. The effective value per CLOR share depends on the financing, final share count, and the market pricing at closing. So we actually don't have a price for that yet.
Well, I was a part of a company that from the inside I saw was, in my opinion, a little bit overvalued in terms of how they were performing and the ability to grow. And we did a merger where we gave up stock to get two other companies that were really growth companies. We were just valued a lot higher.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that concept of a play where so it really depends on the other companies in terms of a fundamental play. Like sometimes like scooping up those companies that actually have a better growth trajectory makes your company more valuable and is exciting. I was talking to someone yesterday who's like, watch this company. If they pick up another privately held company, they're going to fly. They have the money. People are just waiting for them to find the right company. So sometimes it's like a new hope because you're shifting your bet from your existing company, which maybe hasn't been working as much, to here's some new reinforcements in the game that could really pop. So I don't know. Yeah, so I like that. I like it better that it's not a definitive merger price. There's unknown. Obviously, it's already up $7, but could it run more? Yeah. I mean, we saw that yesterday.
Yeah. We sure did.
I feel like there should be a disclaimer up the whole time, Ryan, for this trade at your own risk when we're talking about these stocks.
You have to. I will say that the group is well aware of that. These are all risky. We talk about them. We call them junkers a lot of the time. So it's very, very clear that there's a lot of risk inherent in some of this trading here. Real quickly, just looking at this, we are making lower highs here in the pre-market. This sets up a downtrend line that should be target number 1 if we are able to move higher here. Also, we have a kind of a steep trend line on the upside connecting the high from the after hours as well as the pre-market highs today. If we get stupid like we did yesterday with YXT, this also might represent a target there. So we'll keep an eye on those two trend lines there. Remember, micro float on this bad boy. So we'll see if this gets rolling here. Okay. We are fortunate here today because 13 has a little bit of extra time. Adam, it is my pleasure to introduce you to 13. I don't think you guys have met yet.
We have.
Okay.
Hey.
Okay, perfect. Well, I figured I hate it when I meet somebody new and the person that's introducing me just doesn't say anything and expects me to do it all. So I figured I'd try and give you the soft introduction there. 13, thanks for joining us. I'm glad that you're available here. You caught the tail end of what Adam was saying yesterday on Fermi. You sent me an entire research report, which, by the way, we got to get you paid for these research reports because they're so good. We'll talk about that off air. Anything you want to discuss? I can pull up the chart here. I can let you guys just kind of go at it.
Well, first of all, my email's adam@adammesh.com. If you don't mind sending me that research, I'd love to see it.
I do not mind.
Yeah, I'll get that from you. I'll just won't bother writing it down right now.
In the at, is it Adam?
Adam@adammesh.com. So ADAMMESH.
Yeah, so two adammesh.com. Okay.
Nice.
I might start talking about things you may already be aware of. Like, I think one of the things that you had mentioned when I caught your segment was that the ouster of CEO Toby Neugebauer in April was the one of the big things that had happened. And the board initiated a construction pause to conserve cash because right now they don't have any tenants lined up. And that's, caused a big concern. What they do have is they are still working on the portion of the campus that's going to be, housing the natural gas turbines from Siemens and GE Vernova. They're getting some of those delivered as we speak. Some probably are already transit on rail, but without there was a $150 million anchor deal with a tenant that fell through. So that's one of the reasons why they've been having such problems and had to stop construction of the remainder of the campus. So I think one of the things that we really want to pay attention to is what's going to happen when they when they do find a tenant. And I think there is a current negotiation happening with a massive hyperscaler, and I don't have information on that in front of me, but we need basically two things: a tenant agreement and a permanent CEO, because we do have an interim one right now. And I think that could be the big reason why we're not seeing a lot of these large companies, these large tenants, come around, because they need a few things. One, they want to see that the company has a permanent CEO. They want to see that stability. The other thing is that they need to see that that the company is actually going to be able to deliver on its power generation, because this is not going to be connected to the Texas Power Grid, ERCOT. This is going to be a standalone campus, and right now it has zero power generation. So that's one of the things they're building up. But usually when it comes to these major hyperscalers and these data center, these build outs of data centers, they want to connect to the grid because they want to have something reliable to connect to. So that's basically the hangups right now. CEO, no tenant. Tenants want to see a CEO in place. They want to see, they want to have some more guarantee that power generation is coming. So that's the current hangup that I've been able to see right now. And I'll send you some information that I've got here.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I was saying yesterday versus the stocks. We were reacting to stocks with news on them, which I get, and there's a lot of opportunity in that, and I love trading those momentum plays. But I was throwing it out there as a stock that we could get in right before the news happens, because any kind of positive news should send the stock a lot higher. And that's why I'm just setting up a position. I've been buying shares down a little bit in it. I started buying, I think, at 9, but buying more down here. And yeah, I mean, it gets a little more comfortable when the floor is 0. As long as I don't buy 50,000 shares and it becomes like too big a play, like it could just be a fun play that, like, when the news comes out, you get that spike, which would be good.
Yeah, so it's coming down to some news that we need to get, and it's those two big things that need to happen. And then once we start getting that going, and we could see some other big names start to come in and want to get a section of that campus. I even have the satellite images. There's a website called datacentermap.com that will tell you everything you want to know about these data center build outs. I'll send you all this information.
I
So
emailed
cool.
him, by the way.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
I included that link there. I didn't include the screenshots themselves, but I assume you can just get it right from the link. Okay. Awesome stuff there. Adam, before I run out of time, because when we start talking about stocks, I'm going to get lost in the sauce, bro. That's just what happens here.
Yeah.
How was the drift yesterday, and what do you have coming up today?
Yesterday it was, by the way, I got to tell you, I just have another thought I got to say. This is crazy. So the same way we were just talking about Fermi, you know, when you're in this industry, people come and they talk to you about stocks all the time, and you have to learn how to process the information. And, you know, like, look at that. He has like a wealth of information. It's so interesting, all the different perspectives. Someone called me yesterday asking me how to hedge with options because they thought there wasn't a lot of upside left in this company, 1,000,000,000 that I had never heard of, BLLN. And I looked at it and the options were too illiquid. But this morning, the stock's down 24% from 150 to 114. Oh. So I think it's just crazy when people come to you with ideas and we're talking like how much they can move. It's just an exciting game to be in. What do you guys think about SoundHound post earnings? Is it coming back to life?
It's getting closer to profitability. This is one that I thought it was kind of funny, like when we first started talking about it, because it's essentially a service that is used for like drive-throughs and whatnot, right?
Yep.
So yeah, we had a lot of fun with this one when it was a lot more volatile. Today, with the high short interest, I would expect there to be some kind of a short squeeze. I think we were looking at this off the earnings yesterday. It started to go and start squeezing, but it's looking like sales are improving, and they're on the track to profitability. It's just, still needs some more time. I don't have much beyond that. It just took a brief look at
Sales are improving. Cash burn is worsening. It's still meaningfully unprofitable. Had a GAAP net loss of $42.8 million, and that's still large versus the $61.9 million in revenue. This does indeed. To me, the most interesting part about this is what the earnings did to the chart. We popped 25.5%. And look at this, 13. We ran right into a trend line that originated at the beginning of May and went through the June high. And that's basically where we popped to today. 42% short, as Jay Rice is mentioning here. We talked about the high short interest. Look for this thing to go. I think we need to clear this trend line out, though, guys. What do you guys think? To me, this area, let me give you a ball. 830. That's going to be the spot I would sign. We got to clear that out.
Kind of like 950.
950, that's right above the 200. That would also be a break above this recent high. Yeah, that's 10.
Yeah. There's that potential for it to squeeze. It is getting extended into over. It's approaching overbought. I mean, if we are going to see a wild move, I would say somewhere between 9 and 10, 950 and 10. That would be kind of my upper area where this pops up to. I don't know how great it's going to trade after that, but that's kind of where I would think the impulse out of the gate could potentially take us.
Is there other stocks you wanted to hit, Ryan? I didn't want to, because
No. It's totally fine. I did want to hit one more here. I actually didn't do work on this yet today, so we're going to kind of have to do it together unless 13's already prepared for it. We talked about YXT being the Chinese stock yesterday. Guess what? We got another one on deck here today. Ticker on this one's going to be WYHG. This is Wing Yip Food Holdings. Yeah, I have no idea, so don't ask me what it is. I don't have the slightest clue. This is in China here. Let's take a look at some of the stats here. Float of 6.9 million, market cap of 42. So it's not the sub 5 million market cap and the sub million market cap that we've seen for some of these runners here. Stock has a short interest that is negligible, not even 1% here. And did we have news on this? Let's see. Nope. No news on this either. So we got a China name running 137% in the pre-market here on no news. Float isn't micro. Have made a couple of highs up here near 10 during the pre-market. Maybe this is today's YXT. I'm going to avoid it. I hate the Chinese names. I'm going to let the bot trade something that's real.
YXT had an offering this morning. They announced, and now it's down to 8. And that's what you could be dealing with. That's why. Yeah, the Chinese name. I don't like the Chinese stuff.
Neither do we, but we cover them here. We got a bunch of gunslingers in the chat that don't give a damn about where it originates. They just care about how much money they can make. But this is Jay. You say it all the time. You say it all the time. You can't hold these crappy movers because of what? They'd be stupid not to do an offering there.
You don't have news for WYHG? I have news here this morning.
Oh no, that's YXT.
WYHG.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. On August 6, 2026 extraordinary general meeting, Wing Yip Food Holding Group shareholders approved delegating authority to the board to issue new shares, bonds, and other securities. So they're going to do an offering, Adam.
Yeah. Private placement.
That's exactly what it is. They're just going to do an offering. They got approval for it. Play this one at your own risk. This will be an avoid for me.
By the way, instead of gunslingers, it should be the regulators. Remember the song Regulators?
The Warren G song Regulator. Are you kidding me, Adam? I grew up on that song.
You should buy the rights to it. That should be your theme song. And when you talk about these stocks, that's the selection. Regulators mount up, and then you go into that section.
Oh man,
that's funny. I met him. We used to.
Really?
You met Warren G?
Yeah, he lives in Southern California. I'm not going to say the exact city, but we used to sell barbecue equipment to him. He lived in the same area. Yeah, like no kidding.
Small world.
It's literally one of my favorite songs of all time.
Oh yeah.
So Mesh Dog and Warren G got to regulate.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a blast from. I did not have this on my bingo card today, but I am pleasantly surprised. Okay, folks, we got less than 2 minutes till the open. Adam, is there anything else that you want to mention here before we start the trading day?
On the drift yesterday, I speak with Tom, and he's a contrarian, and so what he liked yesterday on the sell-off was Uber. Uber finally got a flush below 70, came down to 67, and so I put on this is like a more like professional trade, not gunslinging trade.
Yeah.
I sold the 65.55 bull put credit spread for September in Uber just to kind of ease in and watch it there, going against traffic on that one. But I like the fact that it finished off its lows. I'm curious to see what it starts to do today, especially in a down market.
Okay, are you going to trade against that 67 low that it put in yesterday?
If I trade it at this point, it would only be bullish trades. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna. Yeah.
How do you like that one versus Dash?
So Uber has more ways to win, I guess. But and then I honestly don't trade Dash a lot, so I'd have to look at it. But yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Dash, but they have something coming up that's kind of interesting. DoorDash Air, drone delivery service that's supposed to launch this fall. That
sounds cool.
What could go wrong with dropping food and drinks from a drone?
Nothing at all. It's what was that movie? It's that rained food. It was like a animated movie, but that's what comes to mind.
All right, anyway. We are open. That's our bell. Adam, thanks for joining us, folks. Be sure to tune into the Drift Wednesday, right?
Yeah, Wednesdays. Thank you. I enjoyed this. Thanks, 13, for coming on. I appreciate speaking to you.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have you both back. That was awesome. Sure. Adam, thanks very much for everything. We appreciate it. Have a good one, man. We'll catch up with you soon.
Take care, Adam.
Adam Mesh from the Drift, 13, really good stuff. All I could think about was the Goodwill Hunting. My boy's wicked smart. You just came in with an entire effing report for him. All right, let's see what we got moving out of the gate. SPY's first move here is higher. It does look like it's stopping at VWAP, at least so far. We'll see what that continues to do here. Sound, your first move here is lower. We actually did go through the 65 EMA on that. New intraday lows.
We just had SpaceX test the all-time lows that it put in back on the 3rd. I think that was the all-time lows, and we are kind of reversing off of that right now. It didn't hit exactly that because I think that's just underneath 105. We came down to 105.11 and bounced. So that 105 area currently a support level. It looks like.
Yep. That's SPY is still kind of all over the place here. It looks like it's sold back off. Now it might be trying to go back higher. CLRO actually traded back down to the VWAP, and lo and behold, we actually have a very, very small fair value gap in here. This is kind of exciting. This would be from here to here. Now the price was already in it a little bit, but so far it looks like it's bouncing from this no position for me. Bot didn't take that because this is not in the stock universe, but might have a trade here. CLR, and in fact, this is going to halt here at 12. Oh no, see, it was an early call again. 13. Damn it.
Well, the other one, it looks like it halted. Wing Yip.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. That's exactly what we needed. What was the ticker on that one again?
WYHG.
WIHG. I was going to put NG, but that doesn't.
Yeah, this
Okay.
thing into a halt. It looks like it wants to break over 10. We'll see if that's what ends up happening out of this halt. But that's aside from the impulse candle at the pre-market open, looks like about $10 is where the price has been trying to get over without success. So I think from here, that's kind of where I would place the next big resistance area.
CLRO at that 1250 resistance actually stopped there for a sec, could not get through it. Jay Wild says this looks good to 15. I could see this moving higher. Early action here is encouraging on CLRO. All right, 13. I'm going to leave this on the screen. I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Okay, yeah, 15 is interesting because that's what I was looking at too with this one. There was a piece of news here regarding this merger. Clearwin to acquire Vivani Medical subsidiary Cortigent for 12.5 million shares of CLRO, worth 40.4 million. I thought, what does that 40.4 million look like if we attribute that to their shares outstanding? That takes you to about $15. So that's why that level is a little interesting to me for CLRO. We'll see if that ends up happening here. Let me make sure I got that on my screen. CLRO looks like 1306. That was the pre-market high. We're still holding or trying to hold above VWAP. And we have traded this one quite a few times before in the past. So it is doing much better than it has been because we are above all my levels. But if we do get this this area, I would say this $10 area to hold up, maybe even, if we might even come down to the 65 EMA. But if we get all that to provide some support, it looks like $15 could be on deck. But I don't know how much higher after that. So we're just waiting for WYHG to unhalt.
And I come back to CLRO pulling from that resistance area when I left. How about that? Right back into the fair value gap area. We'll see if it holds VWAP here.
And I saw that SpaceX is still climbing back up. We are coming to some supply. Looks like at about 110, we might see this price action start to lose some upside.
I also noticed we were looking at SpaceX early there. I also noticed that Tesla, which was having an extremely weak pre-market, it basically sold off into the open. That's trying to bounce here too. Both of these look like they're trying to put in the bottom. It's early. We'll see if that lasts. Apple tried to scream higher.
SpaceX on the doorstep of 110. Even up to as high as 109.43 in this regular session.
PAVs, this was on our movers list. This is halted to the downside. I'm sorry, I'm just realizing this now. Halt time on this one, 931.42. We also had AMIX halt at 931.47 to the downside. Just took a trade in Apple, by the way.
Flight to safety.
Flight to safety.
So now I have CLRO having a hard time, staying in this consolidation. It's beneath my VWAP right now. It might still be above yours.
Yes, I have my VWAP at 1049. It sure looks like that 1050 area lines up with the VWAP in the bottom end of the fair value gap area.
What was the time on W? Oh, never mind. It just unhalted.
Yep, there it is. WYHG is open.
So we'll see what we end up getting here with this one.
This is going to. We said 10, right? Or did we have?
I was looking at $10 as being the tough resistance area. It looks like it's going to go into another upside halt. That's a wild one, and halted.
Why? Yep, halted again here. 933. Boy, that didn't even move a whole lot, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, remember, this is a, well, let me see here. I thought it said it was a micro float on, no, it's not a micro float. I'm sorry. I have just under 7 million shares in the float. There's another one that was a microflow. It must have been, was it CLRO? Yes.
CLRO, what?
It was. CLRO was
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you guys mentioned SoundHound here. This pulled back out of the open. It did look like so far, it didn't actually print that 200 EMA, held right above it, basically holding 750 here on SoundHound. This was an area where it kind of stopped on the impulse move from the earnings.
So let's see, couldn't get the whole lot past 8.
Lion mentioning that Lilly is printing. That's LLY.
I see for SoundHound, I got support at 750 and in the 680s.
Okay. The market did flash a buy signal here on the 0 DTE. Boy, something's wrong because my bot's not taking the trade itself. That's okay. I can fix it. But it did get 2 buy signals here on the SPY. It was about 35 seconds ago. We'll see if this pushes higher here. Apple's initial push out of the open immediately met with selling. Velo trying to march higher. That's good.
Looks like some of the other space names are getting a bit of a lift here. Lab up slightly.
And how are we doing on SpaceX? Is that still trading up? Yes, it is.
Look at my watch list here and see how things are going. Mostly up here today. Looks like Redwire, after having a nice pop out of the, in the pre-market, is coming back in. That one and York Space Systems are the one that are down the most.
And was it Robert that had the RDWU? That was the levered ETF for Redwire. Robert, let me know how that went.
All right, let's look at Darling Lilly.
Lilly.
So still messing with my trend line up here.
Me too. You can actually see them on the screen here. I have 2. I think one of these is let's see.
I mean, to me, it looks like you got your support at 1100 and your resistance 1250. That's kind of where we're at right now. Let me see if there's anything else I can see. I feel like this. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. So I was just going to say SPY is pulling here. CLRO broke the bottom of the fair value gap and the VWAP.
I feel like Eli Lilly has a breakout coming, and then after that, we could see it, kind of fade.
Now, is that breakout 1230, or is it an all-time high breakout up past 1250?
I would kind of be looking at this as a breakout over that trend line that we've got drawn there.
Yeah. Okay.
And because it looks like it's just trying to push through that, but the some of these RSIs are pretty high. The weekly, the monthly, they're not overbought yet, but they are getting up there. So I could, I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I could see this breakout to new all-time highs and then that get sold into and faded. It just looks like that 1100 support's pretty strong for right now.
Okay. And someone asking here on sorry about that. That was I'll check into that in a sec. JJ asking CLRO support. Okay, so we've talked about the one that was kind of there at VWAP. I would say the next support down here is 10, 13, unless you have another support. Okay.
Yeah, 10 and the 65 EMA are my next 2 support levels. And then, if we lose that, then this thing's coming back into before it had that pop in the pre-market, the sideways consolidation of around 7. That's where I think it comes to next if it loses the 65 EMA.
Okay.
Joby had news. I thought I saw something about Joby yesterday. I don't know if
Didn't they have earnings yesterday?
Let's see. Yes, they did. They did, and they missed on EPS, but sales were a beat.
And they raised guidance.
Yep, they raised guidance to above the midpoint.
And then they also had new news here this morning. Looks like they established a hub at the Perot Field. Is that Ross Perot? Perot Field at Fort. Yeah, Ross Perot. He's the Texas guy, isn't he? Perot Field in Fort Worth Alliance Airport, advancing air mobility innovation in Texas.
Okay, well, I don't know how that's how much more that's. I'd have to read this, honestly, to know exactly how this is, going to affect operations or accelerate, operations. Because I don't think that they're having any of these flights go yet, and I don't think they have revenue. Maybe they do. It looks like they've got some revenue going here. That must be deals with military aircraft. Looks like CLRO is trying to get a lift here after testing 10. We should see an unhalt of WYHG soon, right?
Let's check that real fast. WYHG halted that second time. I've got that time 9:36:28. So yeah, this should be unhalting here any minute now.
Energy is the play today. Let's see here. XLE is up. How's BE today? Oh, that's down. It's down after having a really nice week earlier here. Looks like we're trying to just stay trading above the 20-day SMA. Running into some resistance at the 240 level, which appears to formally be support. So Bloom Energy 240 level, that could be a tough area to get through here, especially when you have volume over the past several days declining.
Look at BE. This is making a pretty nice move here.
That's what I was just looking at here. The 240 is the resistance.
Brian mentioning that healthcare is perking up. Which one are you looking at? Like UNH? Are you looking at a different company? UNH is getting slammed. Which one are you looking at, Brian? And then WDC getting. You know what? We should check in on SanDisk and how those memory names are doing post that earnings. That's a great call. So WDC, this is bouncing back here. We'll see. SanDisk. Let's take a look at that. SanDisk is trying. Oh, it's trying.
SpaceX popped up as high as 110.97, which is the right where the 200 EMA is on the 5-minute, and came back in. Don't have any closes above 110 yet, but we are hitting these prices.
Matthew's asking, how much should people consider the short interest and the float when buying stocks? So I would say initially that depends on what you're trying to do with that. If it's a short-term trade and you think there's maybe a squeeze, obviously the short interest is going to be quite important. If you're looking for a long-term trade, like if you have a long thesis on something, then I don't think that that's necessarily important for like the day-to-day action.
And the days to cover.
And days to cover. Yeah. I think factoring days to cover in there is one of the big things that kind of changed short interest for me. Like being able to estimate how long this stuff is going to be held open based on the average volume is extremely important. That often tells the second part of the story.
SpaceX hitting that 110 spot right now, trying to climb over it. So still seeing some big resistance at 110. No closes over that price. See, I climb up again.
Yeah, I noticed that was ticking up slowly. Velo looking good, Ondas looking good. So we're doing all right here today.
CLRO still weakening here. Looks like it could end up giving a visit to that 65 EMA. So you have some bit of a trend line here we could draw. I don't know if we're going to end up hitting that while we're headed down, but if we get support from that 65 EMA and turn around, that would be the spot to watch.
Are you basically okay?
Yep, just like that.
I don't even have to finish. It's just if I have it there. Now, did you do the one that's past the open?
So if we, you're talking like if we connect the highs from the after hours to the pre-market. So that would be if we snap the one that you just drew.
Well,
so the one that you just drew. So yeah, the one that you just drew here that we, to get over, 1250 or whatever it is, if we snap and hold this trend line that you just drew here, then that secondary one that you're going to draw using the highs from the after hours and the pre-market would be the next target.
Gotcha.
All right, so here we go. There's WYHG hitting our target there. And now let's see if this comes back in or if it breaks higher. WYHG went through 10, got as high as 11. What is this? 1122. Now it's trying to decide if it wants to go higher or sell off.
This was WYHG. I am so sorry that I keep screwing up that ticker. Hand up. It's totally me.
Does it not give does your broker not have like a recently viewed list so you can just kind of click over to these
yeah, I'm doing it in Pro, but I am and it does have the recent list in here. Sometimes we've cycled through so many. My first thought was to look at it on the halt because I know it had been halted, but there's a lot of other halt activity there, but that's all right.
And do this, draw a trend line from that 715 high through the 840 high. And this is the trend line that we're hitting right now.
Dude, that's this and this, and we're running right into it.
So we're hitting that right now. We start closing over this, it becomes support. But right now it's giving the upward price action some grief.
Mr. Doggy Soup. That is a name right there, Mr. Doggy Soup. Mentioning Rocket here, ticker RKT. This is being pounded. Now, this is before earnings. I will say this. We talk about real estate all the time, especially on Happy Hour. We've got a real estate expert that joins us there all the time. Bless you, Felicia. None of us are really bullish on housing right now. So I would say that this, to me,
look at UWMC. Screw Rocket. Look at UWMC. That's why I think Rocket is down.
UWMC. UWMC is
getting
murked, dude. Down 47. What? Okay, so let me get AI to help me with what's going on with this.
Don't even need to worry. I got it all teed up for you. They are suspending their dividend.
Oh.
They are going through it right now. They are restructuring their debt. They have to enter a $2.05 billion strategic capital partnership with the Ishbia family. That's Matt Ishbia, who's basically was running the show here, and Oaktree. This is and I don't even really like the plan they have here. So I've been out of this for a little while. So my fun with this has ended for me for a while. And now that this doesn't pay a dividend, I don't even really want to look at it. But horrible earnings. They've got some problems. Big time, and now they're suspending their dividend. So this thing is in the toilet. Yeah, Kush, this was actually a great, ended up being a pretty good SPAC at one point. Now, that's not the case. This was actually good. They had a great run back in, I think it was 2024. Let's go back here and look. Yeah, so this thing was I was picking this up when it was in the threes back in 22 and on the way down. And this thing ran up to almost $10. That was when it was good. But since then, it's been garbage.
Okay.
There you go. Indeed. Yeah. This thing is kind of done for now. I don't know what the good story is here for the time being. Maybe they turn things around. Maybe when housing starts to kick back up, people start buying homes again, getting mortgages, then this will start looking good again. But until that happens, I don't want to even look at it.
Okay. All right. Iova. Sorry, Kathy. I think you've mentioned this a few times, and I've just been lost over here just watching the bot. Here, IOVA. This is moving. Wow, this actually is a breakout too. So this is moving on earnings this morning, and what a move, 43%. But let me go back to the daily here. Yeah, we are breaking out from this 560 area. Let me go to a little bit longer time frame and see what else we've got going on. We're basically right back to another, I don't know if we consolidated there, but we found some support around here. I would think that there's room to 715 here on IOVA, Kath. IOVA triggered for me. Ed, what does that mean? It triggered? Like it triggered you like you're mad and you want to beat it up, or it triggered a trade?
This thing is
this high short interest too?
Squeezing. Yes,
yeah.
It is.
Yep. Bingo.
And that's a pretty heavy float too. Yeah, there's another one that another SPAC, DraftKings.
Triggered a trade. Ed, are you long IOVA? And if so, do you have a target? 13. I'm sorry for running you over.
Okay. It's okay. They, DraftKings has earnings after the close today, so
yeah. So let me ask you: do you have any thoughts on that? Remember, Michael Burry took a long position on DraftKings and Flutter Entertainment, the sports bettors.
Hold on a second. For some reason, the chart just crapped out on me.
Let me change my time frame. Mine looks to be working. Try a refresh if it's still bugging you there in Pro. And then Jay here, SpaceX. The implied volatility for this week is 160. Next week it's 100. Option buyers getting crushed trying to buy puts on the lockup. You know, Jay, the one thing about this whole lockup trade, like this is it, we've talked about it so much. I started to get that feeling again where it was so anticipated that something else was going to happen other than what we anticipated. NGD, I don't know what the relevance of this is, but I've been trading since 2014 every day. How about you? When did you start trading?
Day trading was.
Oh no, I meant him. But go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much day trading was in 2020. So past 6 years, investing for about 8 or 9.
Starwood hit again here today.
I don't know why none of my indicators are showing up on my. Let me see if I log out and log back in.
I actually had a chart crash earlier where I basically refreshed and then reloaded the saved indicators and they were fine.
Okay.
So just a pro tip there. Okay, let's see. Bigabees exited my put position on SpaceX yesterday, profitable. Bigabees, what's the next trade? Oh, and then thank you, EKS. Burry also took longs on Zoetis, which is ticker ZTS. I didn't read. That's the pet medication company, right? The split off from Pfizer years ago. Pretty sure. Too many want SpaceX under 100. That's so. I still want SpaceX under 100, but I want it for the purpose of being able to buy it. I don't necessarily need to take the short to feel good about that.
WYHG has halted the upside. It broke through that trend line that we drew, and it's halted above it. So, we'll see what happens when it halts, if it holds above that or not. I don't know what's going on with the indicators. They're just not loading.
You don't have the hide button hit, do you?
Nope.
There's got to be a way to fix it, 13. I just can't do it for you right now.
I know.
Thoughts on Micron. So my thoughts on Micron, I actually think Micron is probably the best in breed for some of these memory names. As far as the trade today, look how good, 13. So we had talked earlier. I don't know if you have the same trend line or one that's similar, but I talked earlier about Micron very clearly, like needs to get above some of the simple moving averages, really needs to break out of this trend. Well, look what happened here today. This is what it looks like on the daily. If we look inside at the 5 minute, it just how you draw your lines. What I think about Micron is that we really need to change the regime. Right now, it is currently in a bear trend. It's moving down, and until it can show some strength breaking above one of these either trend lines or moving averages, we're still in the same trend. My opinion doesn't change on it. Ultimately, I still think the demand is going to end up taking these things higher, though. looking around here. Around here.
Yeah, it's, you know, I wish that would work, Ross.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with your thing there. Should maybe try beta, see if they load in the beta site. ProBeta.benzinga.com. You could always try that. By the way, Zach here giving you a price target for Micron 600 to 650. Let me go back to the bigger chart here on Micron. And where the hell's Lion? He's the one that's normally trading these actively every day. In fact, my bot I don't think my bot's taken a memory name. It's actually in an NVIDIA trade that it's underwater on. Let me see if it took a memory trade today. Closed trades today. No, we didn't. We traded Apple, MMM, Broadcom, Cerebras, Palantir, CRM, and Amazon. So no trades on any of the memory names for the bot today.
Looks like it's a little risk on here. We still have, I'm keeping an eye on BM&R. This thing is just climbing after a drop out of the gate.
What's Bitcoin doing? Okay, Bitcoin's right at just shy of 65K, so 64.7 right now. All right, here's the Micron daily chart. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here. I'm all over the place. Micron, okay, so what are the thoughts? Miguel, you were asking thoughts on Micron. What this needs is a recapture and close above the 20-day simple moving average. The value that I have is 892.99. Call it 893 if you want. That's what, 19 points away from where we're currently at. Let's get above the 20. Let's close above the 20. You can see the last couple of times that we've tested this, we peaked above it, but we could not get that close. Step one, let's get the close above the 20. That should set up a possible upside target there of the 50-day moving average. A recapture of both of these and a corresponding close above should be good for a change in trend.
All right.
Okay.
Looks like SpaceX still having trouble with that 110 area.
So it can't get back above it, right? It just can't take the shadow.
There's no close above 110 on this 5-minute chart. We keep hitting it. There's no closes above it. Maybe this current candle does it, but we're getting resistance from sellers in the 110 area. Hertz is moving on volume.
That's HTZ.
Yeah.
Hertz. All right, stopped out of NVIDIA, so that didn't work either. Let's see what and I did see NVIDIA call buying here. Yeah, that's coming back in. We'll see.
Okay. SpaceX, it's at 110 right now. Let's see if we can get back above it. Looks like we had a
dude.
What's up?
WYHG. It busted through the trend line. It's halted again, right? Fourth halt of the day. New highs 14.24.
All right. Let's see where this goes next. Oh, it can't be that simple, can it?
Oh God, what trend line do you have for me now?
Look at the daily.
Just the attitude in which you said that. I don't know what is wrong with my camera, man. I am lagging like crazy. All right. These.
Maybe I ought to go to Pro. Let me see if I get the same thing I do in my broker. Oh yeah, no, it's kind of different in my compared to my broker, but we're coming up to a support area, a resistance area that was formerly support according to my broker. It might just have something to do with a split adjustment, but this there's a trend line that I see on a daily here using highs from April and June, and we just went through that trend line.
I think I see what you're talking about here from the pro chart. Let me try drawing it here.
No, that's 2025. I'm talking April this year and June
this year. Oh, sorry. I was looking too far back. So April, up. I see it. That's going to be so hilarious. This is about it?
That's about it. Yeah, on my broker, it's got me going through, or the price going through it right now, but it looks like it's about to approach it. It should work either way, but yeah. Let's see if I can find any of these dumb levels now, since we're getting into that kind of trade.
We're starting to get into it.
It's funny. We actually might just be going right to all of them, right with this with this halt we just had. There might not be a whole lot more upside left to go. Maybe 15, 16. But that's about the extent of on my really ridiculous levels here. Not too much. So we'll see what happens out of the halt.
I was going to say, I'm very interested to see what happens here out of the halt.
Mm-hmm. It could pop and drop. We'll see.
Velo at the highs. Palantir looks like it's coming back. Netflix at the lows. Ondas trading higher. Tesla actually put in a pretty good bounce. SpaceX still struggling with 110. Actually, sorry, I have it above 110 right now, but barely.
Amex back up to some of the pre-market highs after dropping down to the after-hours lows. And SpaceX still rejected at 110, and it popped up to the 200 EMA again.
Yep. And you're right there about that rejection. I had just told you that it was above it, but briefly, it is absolutely getting rejected there. Net has earnings tonight. Ideas? Does anyone have any ideas for Canat on Net? I'm not trading this for earnings. What does the daily look like on this? Set this bad boy. Actually, this is not a bad spot for Net to be back in. I would feel worse if this had just straight run up today into the earnings. Not a terrible spot here for Net. App looks like those shorts were correct. Did App bounce at all, Jay? Nope.
Looks like those shorts were correct. Let's see. We talked about where this would go. Let's see where it's at now. Because I was looking at this and going, there's a gap fill that we're coming down to that could take us close to 300. That's where I think we're going to get some support. But I don't think that's going to be the final destination of where App ultimately goes. I think following a bounce that tries to come back up towards like the 360 area, I still get the sense that this is going to end up going lower underneath 300. And if that's the case, I'm looking at between 225 and 230 as ultimately where this, I believe this will bottom. What do you think about that, Jay? Do you think 225, I'm sorry, 225, 230 is about where this could go?
I had said earlier, 200 to 225 looked from the chart where it would bottom. I think you're spot on with that. Wis mentioning AZI, this at the highs, punching above 160.
Looks like CLRO is back. Was it halted? I thought it was halted. It's pushing up that VWAP right now.
No, it is not. Oh, yeah. And look at that. And actually, so this is interesting. So this actually overshot the fair value gap a little bit and the VWAP, but it does look like it's curling. Still on deck is going to be this trend line.
Mm-hmm.
Can it take this trend line out?
It might be soon if it does. I mean, it's if the volume here we go. It might be soon. It does it?
It's literally just had to talk about it. 13. Just tickle it a little bit there and get it going.
We'll see. We'll see if it can breach this trend line. That was funny. It just kind of popped pretty close to it. Didn't hit it exactly, but that was great.
It's definitely funny how that stuff works. Azeloff mentioning Rocket Lab. We talked about the space trade earlier today. What's Rocket Lab doing? Velo still cooking. SpaceX still struggling with 110. Rocket Lab not struggling with anything. Look at that move.
And now WYHG. So it popped up and broke through that trend line that we drew, and now it's come back down. It's halted the downside, looking to get support from it.
Well, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if it found support there.
Well, no, if you're looking to trade it, might be a good spot for a bounce. But yeah, I'm not really looking to touch this halt fest.
NBIS looks like this might be getting ready to break higher here. Aha, here we go. Let's go NBIS. Let's see if we can trade higher here. 215 would be my next target. Bots in this trade, its target is 217.91.
Velo climbing back up toward the high of yesterday, 1350.
Oh yeah, that 13. Now what? Now can we break this?
Sure.
ACI halted to the upside. WIS, I changed away from it just in the nick of time. Look at that, WIS. I'll tell you what, WIS. You have been on these low price poppers that move. Man, you have been all over these things. Another good one.
Oh,
China
wow.
continues to pay me.
Good.
Let's go, WIS.
As long as it's not the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Now, Velo, if you look at the price action of the pre-market and yesterday and the hour after hours the day before, there's a little bit of a consolidation area here that goes from about 13.45 to almost $14. If we do get up to 13.50, we're on the doorstep of it, so I expect that we will. This could be the area, this range that I just mentioned, where the price might have trouble getting through it. It's going to need some more volume to get through that. But if we do, then probably we'll see 14 or more. Okay,
I would love it. Those ads in the nines were good, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Ads in the nines were good. All right, Ondas getting mentioned here by Zach. Ondas is trying to break out. Give it to us, Zach. This is the breakout that you're talking about, I think, too, right? So this is basically 9 15? Yeah, 9:15 is that breakout. What do you got for Jay?
So he and I had talked to BlackBerry for some time, and we were both looking for this to come back in after it it reached some highs. At least I know I was looking for this to come back in. I feel down here it's looking for some support. I don't want to say that the bottom this is the sell off the highs is done because I'm not sure, but it looks like this is a really interesting area for where the price is kind of sniffing out some support. If we don't get it here, I could see better support down closer to 650. But I'm thinking that we're pretty close to seeing the sell off here from the highs be over. I'm still looking for some more upside in this in the coming months, but that would be something I would sell into if we do get a move beyond $14.
Okay. By the way, folks, NBIS, so my bot closed the trade here for a gain. That was a good trade here. NBIS looking like it might try and push higher. Didn't even quite get to the target. NBIS is looking good, though. Nice little dip and rip there. Joby at the highs. Is he?
Yeah.
Izzy, what's your plan for Joby? I can't remember. Are you just short term flipping it back and forth? Do you have a long term? Are you trading around a core here? Remind me again what your deal with Joby is.
Hey, you want another trend line?
I mean, I'm always going to listen to trend lines 13.
Go to a weekly on Joby.
You got it.
And back out so you can see more than just the past couple of years. Let's back out so you can see the entirety of its price action. There you go.
Okay.
Now look at all that price action in the beginning there. You see those two peaks? Draw a trend line through the peak in August 2021 and through the peak of June 2023 and keep that going. And look at the price action we got from that. This represented a massive, this represented a massive breakout back in a trend line to break over back in June of last year. And then it gave us some support when it fell back down. Now it's resistance again. So a breakout from here and a hold above this trend line, I think that bodes well for some more upside here in Joby.
Okay, this reminds me of that scene in Ghostbusters where they ask Ray if he's a god. If you ask me if I want a trend line, the answer is yes. I want all the trend lines. Give me all the trend lines. This Joby one's ridiculous that this weekly trend line is coming into play now.
Aim for the flat top.
Aim for the flat top.
Yeah, I saw a movie once. Anyway, let's see.
So what I'm noticing here, IWM has a bullish regime. We definitely have like a risk edge there. The SPY, however, is choppy. I'm looking at, like Apple, Netflix, Costco. These stocks are weak, but some of these smaller caps are ripping. SpaceX still dealing with 110. Palantir's bouncing back. Amazon's still kind of sideways. VIX is melting, but some of the smaller cap stocks seem to be really going.
We talked a lot about these small caps getting attention from institutions. They're pretty cheap. They're picking them up, and we have some names that are, if they don't get picked up or have substantial capital injections, they may be getting delisted.
Yeah.
Starting August 24th. I think that's an important date to keep in mind. We're going to start seeing stocks leave the Nasdaq.
Joby has a gap to close at 1246. Where's that gap from, though? Oh, I think you're not talking about this one, Alan, right? The one that's closed at 13? I don't think I see that gap that you're talking about. ASTS is flying, so more space stocks getting it done.
Yep. It looks like ASTS can go to 78 to 80 before it runs into some resistance. But I think that's where I would kind of peg the upside target if you're looking to trade this, somewhere between 78 and 80. This could go to. They have earnings in 4 days on Monday.
They do have earnings on Monday. Sorry, I was reading a comment here from Canap. Costco celebrated 50 years. I'm a member for 40 years. Wish I had bought one share each month. You're rich in my mind. Yeah, well, you're doing good if you've been going to Costco for 4 decades, bro. That's impressive. You got me beat.
We finally have one of these 5-minute candles in SpaceX closed above 110. Now it's trying to hang in there and get over 111. But there, man, this thing is a little bit of a fight happening between the bulls and the bears. But we're above 110 for the moment. Got to hold it now.
I called Joby below 10 a while ago and was looked down upon. I'm not by me, Zach. Not by 13, I don't think. Looked down upon. That's a very polite way of saying that. I love it. Oh, by the way, I want to shout out the group. So yesterday when Tim Melvin was on, I had told the group if you wanted those files to email me and you had to say please. I got to say, I was mostly kidding, but I can't believe how many of you actually included please in your email. It's just more proof that this is the best community that is going right now for trading. You guys and gals are absolutely awesome. I'd have sent you those things anyway, but I appreciate that. The world can always use a little bit more niceness and positivity. So I appreciate all of you that
look at this SpaceX move. We just pushed through 111. We're trying to hold above this right now. It's the highs of the regular session. Latest news on Rocket Lab. I don't look to see if they had news. Let's see here. We got earnings coming up the same day that we talked about Monday. They launched their 13th Electron rocket of 2026. And that was their 92nd Electron mission, an 8th launch for IQPS Earth Imaging Constellation. Yep. Looks like they also got a nearly $400 million Space Force contract yesterday.
I mean, this chart looks like it's trying to push higher. I agree with you that it struggled at 110, but now that it's through it, it looks like it's trying to go higher. Mm-hmm. Real quick, JJ, shoot me another email. I thought I responded to all of them. It's definitely, I make mistakes, so it's possible that I miss them. Just shoot me an email again. I'll get them to you. That's not a problem. Alan, all over WYHG. Get it together. Another halt. And it, look, 13, it used the trend line. I'm sorry for laughing. I'm not actually sorry. It's awesome that it works like this, but...
Yeah, I guess the algos are looking at the same thing we are.
Hey, man.
Rocket Lab, though, nice to see that we are climbing back over the 200-day SMA. This could be a significant recovery here that leads us back up towards 90. I think in the 90s, I think, is where we're going to see our next big resistance if we manage to close and hold above the 200-day SMA.
All right, folks, I want to get the bills paid here. We have a webinar coming up here. We have, and let me just make sure I'm reading the right thing here. Real quick, before we move on, if you're watching this morning, we've got a free webinar starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time with the CBOE. Stacy Gilbert from the Options Institute and Gianni DePoci are breaking down how markets actually price expectations, moving past just yes or no, all or nothing thinking into ranges. They'll walk through yes-no contracts plus spread contracts and how to turn an opinion into actual profitability you can trade. It's called From Binary Outcomes to Ranges. It's free, and the registration link is pinned in the chat and down in the description. There's an auto redirect to this. Just stick with us today, 11 a.m., Converting Opinions to Expectations. This should be a banger of a webinar here. More free content from our team that's absolutely awesome, designed to help you make better trades, folks.
Looks like SpaceX trading up pretty well here. Looking for 112. I think 112.50 may be the resistance it could run into on this move up. Let's see if we get through 12.
And my bot caught Microsoft here. I'll tell you what, this is one of the coolest things about bots. It bought it right here. And I thought to myself, gee, bot, you're either going to be right or this is going to be a big time pullback and catastrophic. Yeah, new highs. So we're doing just fine here.
All right. There we go. There we go. SpaceX right to almost to that 1250, and we're running into some resistance. There it is. Let's see if we can push through it. Oh, there we go. We just kind of popped a little bit there. But we're still dealing with that 112.50 area.
Trey says it's kind of interesting that they're bringing Gianni in from Theo Trade. Yo, Gianni has been doing content with us since COVID, bro. Gianni is a friend of Benzinga. Actually, the dude himself, outside of his professional persona, is awesome and interesting. Gianni's been working with us for a while. Get in there, 13 star.
SpaceX still ripping here. Looking for 114 now. Coming up to some of the consolidation areas from the regular session yesterday. So from about 114 to 117.50 might be a bit of a tough area for SpaceX to get through. Could see a lot of back and forth trading in that range.
Jay, in your expert opinion, is the move we're seeing here in SpaceX because so many people were like, lock up, oh my God, lock up 100, sub 100, and the market's just
Squeeze.
like, get out of
Yeah,
here.
squeeze. And
So-
squeeze, and when that squeeze is over, it probably will come right back in.
Yeah. So let me ask you this then, chat. I'll wait for Jay's answer here. Jay, I'm still interested. Let me ask you this. If you folks think that SpaceX is still going under 100, is this move enough to maybe tease you into a short position? Elon said those shorting the stock would get burnt. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. It wasn't quite Alex Karp level call out, but it was good.
WYHG unhalted and is put in a slightly higher session high at 1430. Now is halted again.
Okay, so I had asked about, is this move higher here represent short entry into SpaceX? Westcap says strong sell on SpaceX. Carmen says, oh no, sorry. Miguel says yes. And Matthew says, got me some SpaceX at 106 today. So Matthew played it to the long side. Okay, you know what? Register ring.
Oh, wow. BlackBerry's pushing 9 hard. Yeah, a lot of, I mean, I'm not betting on SpaceX going down. I'm just waiting for it to do that. And, you know, this is just one of many tranches or share unlocks that are going to happen. We have another one later this month. We have that AnySphere acquisition that's going to see a 60 billion share dilution event. So I'm just waiting. Yeah, Velo is skyrocketing. I'm going to go back and look at that space watch list and see how much things have gone up. So now we have some names entering double-digit territory here as far as the change in percentage since the open. You got Velo up 12%, VSAT up 10%, Rocket Lab up 10%, Lunar, that's up 11%. Black Sky up almost 12%, ASTS up 12.3%. We have some names really moving here. Sidus Space, this thing is up over 11%.
Remember, that's the one that David Capablanca was very negative on.
Well, I mean, they did have that whole thing with Lone Star to build a data center, and I don't know if that's ever really materialized. And that's something that was mentioned like a couple of years ago. And it's one of the ones that, you know, wasn't one of my favorites, but it could move because it was just one of those junky names. Yeah, I think that had I don't remember the float size on it, but it was worth mentioning because it was in my my list of names that popped up when I started doing this coverage into the space theme. It hasn't been great, and I think the financial issues were the biggest thing for me. But it was a good trade when it was on. I just don't think I would want to hold it, not like I would with Rocket Lab or some of the other ones.
Jay, I had asked you about the whole SpaceX thing. He says 100%, Ryan. I've been saying that for weeks. The trade was all over social media, and it is never that easy. Too many are saying the same thing. Look at chat. They all want to buy at 80 and lower. I'm a part of that. I'm guilty of that. But you know what, Jay? I've watched this enough times to know that, especially when there's a hype cycle, I can be patient. I can be patient. I like how the chat was thinking of other ideas of selling puts lower and collecting premium just in case you actually don't get put to the stock.
Look at the acceleration it's got now. It's in the 115 handle.
You could even say it's lifting off.
After it broke that trend line, yeah.
God, are we almost out of time here? I tell you what, when these mornings are busy and fun like this, I feel like we blink and the show's over 13. I feel like we blink. By the way, a couple of you were, American Nightmare lamenting the halt here on why. God, I did it again. WYHG. We are literally at the intraday highs. We're just shy of the resistance area. We back tested. I almost can't believe that this is behaving so well. We're due for an unhalt here in less than 2 minutes.
Yeah, and this is up right against where that former support now turned resistance is kicking in, at least from what I'm seeing on my broker chart. So we'll see if there's going to be some selling out of this halt, or if we're going to push further into it. Next resistance levels that I can see are going to be, from here. Of course, we could look at 15 as being one, but I think 17, 24 and a half, and it may even be. And I don't have any, real conviction that we're going to get to these levels, and then maybe 28 after that. But this is one of those junky names that can get pushed around, so we'll see. But
by the way,
go ahead.
Sorry. Those that are talking about Starwood, yep, Starwood's earnings, it is 52-week lows here. I added more down here. Again, Starwood is a long-term play. I'm not necessarily concerned about the day-to-day moves. I think with interest rates probably looking like they're going to go higher, REITs that pay dividends like this are less desirable. I think you've seen that effect for some time. I think ultimately this is going to be fine. Just added a little bit more down here to move my average down.
Well done on your puts, Ed. All right, so CLRO kind of hitting the 65 EMA. This is the next support area, and if we lose this, then I don't know that we're going to necessarily get to our $15 level we were talking about earlier. But it's still a lot of day left. It could turn around later in the afternoon and hit that, because this is one of those micro float movers.
Still waiting on the unhalt here. I'm feeling like, hey, don't take it off the screen. It should be unhalting now, right? Maybe it's a 10-minute, since this is the 7th halt. Ryan, SNES, question mark, and a ton of them, and in all caps.
Ooh, this thing's getting slaughtered.
I mean, I'm not interested in this at all. I don't, it is getting slaughtered.
It had earnings yesterday, and this barely trades. We have 183,000 shares traded here. So it's just, dying a slow death.
Yeah, I don't know what the bull case is here, Izzy. I'm not trying to poo-poo it from you. I don't know. I don't know what the bull case is here. I recognize the ticker, but I don't remember what the thesis is.
I think we just made new all-time lows here this morning. Maybe that's the bull case. This thing is, just been hammered down so much that turns around. I'm not suggesting anybody go for this thing on that sentiment, but we'll see if this finds some buyers down here just above $1.
Jay, back up to the mountains for some golf for a week. Probably won't be in here. We'll miss you. We'll keep the seat warm for you. Where are you playing? And you have my phone number. I had better see pictures of the nice courses that you play at. Just going to throw that out there. You have homework.
This is the rat birth control one.
Yeah, okay.
Contrapest and Evolve Rat and Evolve Mouse. Lots of insider, Glenbrook Capital Management buying. We'll see. I mean, I don't want to say it's. I said it's going to die a slow death, but it's just because of the way the chart looks. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna have to. I'm gonna have to get more information on this one, because when are they going to start seeing some actual robust sales to control rat populations? I mean, I would have thought this thing would have been fantastic for a lot of urban areas.
SPY between the pre-market high and the pre-market low. It's so flat. Westcap, I'm out of all positions, including TQQQ. It sounds like that's a victory lap and that you need a register ring. 13, we are out of time for the day. Do you have any closing words for the group?
Another fun. Oh, yes, we are doing fantasy football, Judge. Another fun day, everybody.
Go
ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, Judge, yes, we are going to do that. I'm glad that you said something. I reactivated the league yesterday. I'm going to do another poll tonight for the folks that show up to happy hour every day to see if there's anyone else interested. I know that you don't make happy hour much anymore. If you're still interested in playing, confirm that for me. But those spots might be changing around a little bit. Anyway, 13, go ahead with the closing words for the group.
No problem. I mean, let's just make sure we're paying ourselves with all these wonderful moves we're getting. I don't know how much of these are going to stay sticking around, but another fantastic day, another fun day of trading some of these crazy movers. I'll be back here tomorrow, wrap up the week, and we talk with Anne-Marie as well. So, folks, see you tomorrow, and it'll be a fun day. Promise.
Yeah,
take care.
Tomorrow's going to be fun. 13, really good stuff today. Thanks for the extra time. You were here early. We really appreciate it. I thought that went really well with Adam. So appreciate you. Have a good rest of your day.
Take care.
That is 13. He'll be back here again tomorrow, folks. We're out of time, but remember, we have this webinar coming up at 11:30 Eastern time. CBOE webinar, Stacy Gilbert from the Options Institute and Gianni DiPoce. They're going to break down binary options. Be sure to check it out. We're out of time here for today. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. We'll wrap the week up with you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.